Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever is appropriate for whenever you're watching this video. We've looked at a number of different videos on different reasons why people work. There's two major categories left. This video on caring for others and the next video on serving others. Take a look at this painting to my right. It's called The Sinews of Old England from 1857. What does it represent? Any reactions to this painting? Well, clearly it represents a family, but let's focus on the work issues involved in this family. Let's take a look first at the man. We can see, if we zoom in, that he's carrying a pickaxe, and we can infer that he's probably about to go off to work. How about the wife? What's behind her? Dishes, representing household chores. When he goes off to work, presumably she is going to stay behind to take care of household tasks and to take care of their child. Now, this is a noble portrait of work in some respects. The sturdy, strong man is presumably going to go off to engage in a days of honest, hard work and support his family in this way. At the same time, it's a highly gendered portrait of work, where men are portrayed as going off to work to support the family, while women are left behind to engage in domestic labor. Now, this is a very realistic portrait of work. Throughout society, throughout history, many different cultures, many different parts of the world have had a highly sexual division of labor, the sharp distinction between what's seen as appropriate for men to do in the work sphere and what's appropriate for women to do in the work sphere. Now, we've already seen that industrialization draws a sharp line between household production and industrial production, or the production of goods and services outside of the household. Now, when industrialization emerged in Britain and the United States and elsewhere, a number of different work patterns could have emerged. It could have been the case that women went off to work and men stayed home. In fact, that's what happened in the early textile industry. It could be the case that men and women worked outside of the home equally and inside the home equally, which is the case in some households today. Or it could have been the case that men and women both adopted fluid patterns of working outside the home, caregiving inside the home, and varied over the life cycle. But what emerged as the dominant norm is called the cult of domesticity, with men going off to work and women seen as being naturally suited for staying home and caring for the family and maintaining the household. So industrialization and the norms that arose along with it created separate spheres. We have a private sphere of economic activity, breadwinners. And who dominated this sphere? This was seen as men's work. Men were the breadwinners. The other separate sphere was a private set of tasks done behind closed doors to take care of the household. Who dominated this sphere? Women. Well, at least white women who could afford to stay home. Other women of more modest means often had to seek work outside the household to further support their families. But that wasn't part of the dominant narrative of the cult of domesticity. So industrialization devalues women's work in the household, and it renders uncompensated forms of work to be invisible. Gender inequalities are not limited to the sexual division of labor between breadwinner and caregivers. Women face inequalities in the paid employment sphere too. Many caring occupations are highly feminized and tend to be low paid. Many organizations and workplaces have norms of masculinity that need to be fulfilled in order for workers to be successful and to attain high levels of pay. Men and women, but especially women, face penalties for interrupting their careers to take care of children or other individuals in their household. And there are well-documented, very persistent gender pay gaps where men tend to earn more than women for similar work. All of these are the result of an enduring belief that caring is not real work. But caring is real work. It's best to think of it as a labor of love, as long as we recognize both the labor and the love aspects. The labor element reinforces that caring is real work and should be valued as such. It is not a natural activity such that women are naturally suited for these types of activities. Well, there's limited exceptions like childbirth, but in general, household caring activities being the domain of women is really a socially constructed idea, not something determined by nature, not something determined by biology. There are real value generated by household activities, and there are real costs. So caring for the household needs to be appreciated as real work. At the same time, it doesn't need to be reduced as equivalent to all other forms of work outside of the household. There is a love element. The love element underscores the complex emotional attachments and obligations involved in caring for others. And this highlights that we risk devaluing family life by reducing caring to just another form of work. Now, since caring is real work, we need to understand that some people are motivated to work by the caring aspects. These types of workers will respond to different opportunities and rewards compared to people who are motivated by other things. But at the same time, these workers are likely to be demotivated if caring is seen as women's work, or if it is devalued and not paid the same and not fully respected the same as other non-caregiving forms of work. Lastly, managers need to be vigilant not to perpetuate gendered stereotypes or discrimination in the workplace, whether or not the work itself involves caring. We should note that organizations are not gender neutral, even though we like to think that they are. Think about some questions. Do you see family issues as a women's issue or as a people's issue? Think about norms of masculinity and acceptable personal behaviors in your organization. If male and female leaders are both forceful, are they treated the same or are they treated differently? Think about how ideal jobs are structured in your organization. Are they structured around full-time jobs with fixed hourly schedules, which assume that there's a caregiver at home, ready to meet children as they get home from school, or ready to prepare dinner for the weary full-time worker coming home after a long day of hard work? When are meetings held? Are they held early in the day or late in the day, when some workers have childcare pick-up and drop-off responsibilities that place constraints on their ability to easily attend these meetings? Do career paths in your organization allow for interruptions for parental leave or other caregiving responsibilities? So think about these and other types of questions, and think about whether they reflect biases that continue to be rooted in long-standing notions of caregiving being the natural domain of women and not being seen as real work. Now, it's better to recognize these biases rather than just to assume them away. Now, granted, it's not easy. I'm still working on this in my own roles as a manager, but it's important to do.